Good evening, all.
Good evening, all. Welcome to another Tuesday night fun fest. It's been an interesting few days, interesting weekend as well. You saw that huge drop over the last couple of days on BTC. Is seemingly a little bit of a recovery here, ads. But what I've loved most about this is that the alts are rallying once again. XTZ or Tezos, XRP. We looked at XLM today as well, and shared a bunch of alts that are looking all right. So will BTC spoil the party, ads?
Oh, maybe I shared two charts this morning during my update, and we could see some fireworks over the next 12 to 24, even 48 hours, Ty. And it's looking like it's making a little bit of a familiar formation, I think, on the chart that most people are starting to see as well.
Yeah, it's what are we at Tuesday night tonight? We usually know that Wednesday night, Thursday brings volatility midway sort of during the week. So I would be cautious in any positions that you're in, because it's only going to, we can see how fast that moves happen in a single candle. What we did just the other day on the second or the third there is no reason why this couldn't happen again, but you should always try and have the mentality that things like that could happen at any time. So don't be loose with your stop losses. Don't start being blasé and moving away from a trade plan because you had a win on the drop or you had a win on the run up. The same rules still apply. Treat every single trade exactly the same. As we're not out of the woods just yet, I don't think.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. Anyway, without further ado, BTC, really premising on really just re-emphasizing what I said in the Discord this morning during my update. But honestly, this is looking very, very much like this sort of formation here, Ty, where we're seeing a head and shoulders forming at the top of this monumentous run we've had from around that 9,000 or eight low, very high eights to 9,000 level, all the way now up to 12. And we have created a nice supply there now, just off that massive harsh rejection on that 12,000 psychological level. So honestly, I'm really just doing what I said in the update, whereas I'm waiting for BTC to start making lower highs to continue to tell us that we're continuing downwards towards some of those lower fib levels like the 78, 88, and that full retrace at 100. And then towards that obvious level of demand there, we're at 88.6 rests. So I'm looking for that lower high to be printed. It could be this one, or we could head back up and retest this level of supply, or even the 23 fibs, but I don't think that's probably going to be the case. Looking for more downwards movement in the short term anyway. A pullback, if you want to call it that, Ty.
Yeah, I think there was a gap, I think, left up at around 11.6 something. So there's every chance that we could fill that. It's not a very wayward target to shoot for. So that's I think that's within the reach here if we were to continue sort of heading back up here, which would go with that narrative of what Ads was saying, where we're heading back up towards that supply zone. My thoughts haven't really changed. As I said last week, that I still feel we are in a potential distribution zone. That would make a lot of sense with that wick that we had here, using some of our Garn strategies that we share inside the Discord. We said that my prediction was that the fourth was going to be a very volatile day. We had it a couple of days earlier. A lot of over leveraged longs and a lot of people aggressively longing the market post 11.2, post 10.5. That was every opportunity to wipe. I think it was 1.2 billion off the books with that single candle there. So this whole thing sort of looks semi-familiar to me, where we might even just range between that 61 and that 38, or that 61 and that demand supply zone rather for a little bit of time here before we can potentially head back up, or in my thoughts potentially head back down. But we very much could be establishing a little range here, Ads, that we saw for quite a long time before this first big moves that we saw to the upside here. We just ranged for weeks and weeks, and that would allow the alts to run again, which would be great.
Absolutely, it would. absolutely. It would, and your bread and butter would that would be a very nice outcome for this run. Look, and I do somewhat agree with that. Look, we could be, we could start to ping pong between, that supply and demand, the 61 and supply. We could even, retest this in the very short term.
Yeah.
The whole premise is we're looking towards this level and this level. That's pretty much the takeaway from this. And I know, you're saying, oh, Thai ads, you could say it can go up or down. Well, it can go up or down. But the facts are that we're creating this sort of structure. So this is the first and foremost thing that I'm looking at. And we need to see if that is going to either be invalidated or be respected. So this is really a no trade zone for the guys that are swing traders. If you're a scalper, different story. But if you're a swing trader, you'd really be looking for here and here for your exits or even entries to a short position, depending on the sort of position you're in at the moment, if any. And you're really looking at here and here for those bounces or the confirmation of that range that Ty did just mention.
Yeah, there's no denying that Bitcoin has had a phenomenal run, and everything around Bitcoin is very, very bullish right now. We've seen some really great fundamental news over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the sentiment amongst traders is very bullish and happy at the moment, with a few skeptics. But yeah, don't slack out just yet. Play what the TA is telling you, and trade accordingly.
Absolutely.
However, one coin that I am very bullish on and have been all year, ads, is FUSD.
FUSD coming at you, bro, and I think it's that chart there that I posted today. ETHUSD. What are your thoughts, Ty? I'd like to get your initial thoughts because you have been following this for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on ETH. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, where we sit right now is definitely a time when we need to be very, very cautious after these phenomenal. I don't like using that word. After these really good runs that we have seen in the last few weeks, 354 was our sort of initial target. 398 was a top target, and I shared earlier on in the year with our inner circle guys, probably 2 and a bit months ago, probably a bit longer, maybe 3 months ago. I shared my chart, and it still sits here at the exact same points. 398.22 was my last sort of topside area of interest on ETH, and I have ones up to my I sound like a crazy ETH person, but my targets, or sort of my top side levels for ETH at this stage, go all the way up to just under $1,000. So I'm very bullish on ETH, and have said for quite a long time that ETH is where I think the market will be leading or watching. You'll be getting some pretty good returns from ETH this year, and it's certainly played out that way. But again, the same thing is happening. I'm looking at ETH on the short time frames, the 4 hours mostly, to give me a gauge of where BTC is headed, and then BTC sort of takes the reins after it, on the daily scale, sort of gives you an overview of where everything else is headed. But admittedly, I would not be surprised with a pullback on ETH, which I think it really desperately needs. But I think that crazy week that we saw on the second was that little sort of shakeout that I think the whales wanted to inflict on everyone. And I'm feeling pretty confident that if we can break this 398, 400 mark and close above that in the next couple of days, I would be looking for some pretty decently high 400s ETH levels. But at the moment, it hasn't really established so much of a range. We obviously had that crazy week. We've broken above that 354 mark, which is really bullish and what we were certainly looking for. The sort of range that we have now, if we can close above this, is looking pretty good all the way up to sort of, like I said, the high 400s. Because we don't have much structure from there holding us back. Looking back towards the 29th of July in 2018 is sort of the last time where we were up at these sort of higher levels. And then prior to that in late sort of 2017, once it found this range, it rocketed pretty quick. But as I said, ETH is sorely in need of a pullback. But with the hype and everything surrounding it at the moment, I think there still could be a little bit more in this. Potentially a pullback, maybe a further pullback to sort of the mid 360s or sort of the 370s before the next run up. We're showing a little bit of weakness on this daily candle, this sort of inverted hammer thing that we've got going on here. So there definitely is a little bit of a fight there to keep this below that 400 mark ads.
Absolutely. And look, I'm going to give you my thoughts with this. If we look at the daily as a whole, and I really like how Ty said high 400s, and I'll tell you why. Because if we look at the daily as a whole, we've had a fantastic run, from that $240 mark all the way now here to $400. But what I really need to heavily point out, is that we're looking at these levels of supply here, and this one here isn't very strong. And the reason why I say that is because it's in a pause. So the market started to slip, and then we just paused for a little while, for a couple of days, before we started to continue. Yes, it's a valid zone. Yes, it is proven to be quite resistant to the price action at the moment. But the actual zone that you should be looking at in the longer term scheme of things is the one at around that 460 and 480 mark, which is, like Ty said, high 400s. So if we do break above this and make some structure above it, absolutely between 460 and 480, where that negative 27 fib extension would be the next level of interest there, Ty, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Preceding
totally.
that, in conclusion though, like Ty did mention, it does need a pullback, as does Bitcoin and a lot of these USD pairs also.
Yeah, a lot of things very, 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 very oversold. Lots of FOMO, people still buying. And that sort of leads in with my distribution sort of theory that I think we might be in at the moment with Bitcoin. But as I said, and as I have said all year, I think ETH is continuously going to be the one to watch this year.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. It's proven itself already. It's proven itself already to be the one to watch.
Yeah. And even if we did reject heavily from here and head back down towards that 320 demand zone, that'd still be pretty healthy in my opinion. That could do that happily. I'll just short it back down to that level and then look for potential long positions from there, or even back down to that 340 level wouldn't be unusual in a little bit more of a short term perhaps.
Yes. That's what it needs though. That's what it needs. All these USD pairs need this sort of scenario to play out, where we've got this pullback, we've got a settling of our steamroller, our CCI, our RSI, before a potential bounce, because this sort of scenario here would be extremely, extremely healthy after something like this, as you did say. So looking for that, hoping for that, but also planning for just FOMO to kick in once more and take us towards that high 460s. And that's why we have these zones pre-drawn in and ready to go, so we know where this is going before the fact.
Yeah, and that sort of leads me into the next coins that we're going to have a look at. Just a couple of altcoins today. I've shared a lot of my thoughts in Discord as to where I think things might be headed, but keeping in mind too, you see the USD pairs aren't really too separate from the alt BTC pairs that we see, where we see high caps run, we see mid caps go, we see low caps go, and we're finding that now coming over to the lower cap. We're not talking Bitcoin or Ethereum, but coins like XRP, like Tezos, like XLM, like a number of these USD alt pairs, they, in my opinion, a number of them are gearing up. And have been moving quite well, which we've shared. We were on this recent XRP run, and that's obviously a very, very high cap coin. But as a little bit lower down the spectrum is Link USD, which has been absolutely crushing it, that we had mentioned a couple of times over the last few weeks. Tezos, both the BTC and the USD pair are doing quite well. So if you're missing moves on BTC and ETH, or you're out of the cycle, or things aren't happening for you at the moment and you don't have ability to trade, there are still plenty of opportunities to make money in this market beyond just BTC and Ethereum. So don't get into that mindset that that's the only things you should be trading. There is certainly opportunities across other USD pairs, or indeed other BTC pairs.
Absolutely. And if you're sitting in cash like a lot of us are, averaging out of these markets, as you know, the price does give you ridiculous returns. If you're sitting in Tether, Pax, you know, a lot of the other stable coins have their own markets available. Like a lot of these coins, like that Ty's been trading over the past couple of weeks, they're USD pairs. You can use that cashed position that you're in, waiting for, you know, a more how should I say, if you're waiting for a little bit more of a better position to get into BTC and Ethereum, and you're just waiting for these markets to make those plays so you can execute those orders, have a dabble in the USD pairs. You know, try and increase your reserve capital that you have sitting there, so when you do get, you know, that when you do starting to see those prices that you want on those bigger alts, on those bigger cap coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum, you have more capital there to use to purchase those things.
Totally. All right, XRP USD, let's have a look at it.
Yes. XRP USD have been following quite heavily over the last couple of sessions, and my target, or I shouldn't say target, but my area of interest was that 32.3 or 32.5 level there. We had our major pivot, and that's the beauty of using that supply and demand strategy and looking for these major market pivot points, is because they're going to be the best levels, or the most magnetic levels, should I say, for the price. And we're seeing that on XRP. It's had a decent run, as you know, a lot of these USD pairs have, in the same sort of structure as Ethereum at the moment, where we've just had this parabolic movement to the upside. But if we do break above this, the next one would be, I haven't even drawn it in, unfortunately, but the next one would be, you know, around this level here, I would think at around that 40 cent mark USD for XRP, and that would be a monumental achievement for XRP to get back up to there. You know, seeing that the price action that it's had over the last, you know, couple of months, and that would be 178% swing from the bottom back up to 40 cents. So looking for that, not expecting it right now. We're sitting at that 88.6 level, that 32 cent mark, and this does need a pullback, just like the other USD pairs do. If we do look for, you know, a relevant level of demand to place our orders on, or to even just have a look and see where this could go, I'd be looking at that 25 cent mark in the grand scheme of things on a daily, if we even get there. If we zoom into the 4 hour, however, it's going to paint a little bit of a different picture, where we're seeing, you know, levels like that. I probably wouldn't take this week too much into consideration if you're trading the 4 hour time frame. But even if we can get back down to that 28 cent level, that would satisfy a lot of these indicators for a further move. The same sort of scenario that we looked just before on Ethereum time.
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on XRP. I'm not going to lie. Things are looking pretty good. I've been actively trading this for the first time in in quite a bit of time. But on a lot of the time frames, looking pretty strong. I think a break above 33 cents would be uber bullish for XRP. I definitely would see sort of the 40 cents, if not the 45 cent, and very, very high. Sort of my last extension sits at around the 49 cent mark on the weekly, that is. And even looking at the Ichi on the weekly, looking pretty healthy. We've just gotten a break on for the first time in a very, very long time inside the Kumo, when we broke through that 30 that's let's say that 30 cent mark. So that's following Ichi and how I see this playing out a lot of the times. As Ad said, that sort of that move back down to maybe the sort of the 30-cent mark all the way back down to maybe the sort of the 29.1 cent mark could make a lot of sense, which would be a retest of the bottom of the Kumo, which we see that plays out quite a fair bit before edge-to-edge trades play out. Now, keeping in mind, I'm looking at the weekly chart here in my TA, which I'll share inside Discord. So this could take quite a long time. I'm looking quite long-term now. I'm getting sort of back into that investor mindset of trading or holding cryptocurrencies where I am looking for coins to hold long-term. And I think it might be the same for a lot of people. My life right now is not massively conducive to being in front of the screens a lot. So I have been finding that the higher time frame trades and the longer term trades have been a real mental relief for me, especially when there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world at the moment, and whether it be work or whatever it is that you're going through as well, and you don't always have time to sit in front of the screens. Consider the higher time frame trades, your dailies, your weeklies, your monthlies, if that's sort of the way you want to sit. We don't have to be in front of the charts all the time. So XRP looking quite good at the moment, ads. And we won't look at them. You can come into the Discord if you want to learn a little bit more, but the other ones that I'm obviously looking at the moment are XTZ. We've already done 4% on a trade from that earlier today. Looks to be breaking out, looking really, really quite nice. The Tezos BTC pair right now is what I'm looking at as well. And one of the BTC pairs that I have been looking at, and I'll share some more thoughts on that shortly, is ONT is another one I've been looking at, and Theta. So Theta, especially if we can break that 3014 sat mark on the daily, looking okay at the moment. And it has just been within this range of this 2100 sats to this 3000 sat mark for pretty much since early May. So an easy trade there. And obviously Link USD, have a look at that if you would like to know a little bit more. Come into the Discord and see what I'm trading.
Absolutely.
And what we're trading.
Yeah.
All right, ads DXY, brother. Let's have a look.
Let's have a look at the DXY. The DXY doing exactly what we expected to do. It's been very, very predictable at the moment, and a good thing that is. So we were looking at this bounce, this pivot bottom that we were looking at the 92.6 cent mark. And the next level of interest would have been that supply there at around where is that 93.80, 93.83 points on the DXY, and I was honestly looking for this level to give us that sort of formation there where we see not so much a double top, but a dead cat bounce from this sort of bottom here, and continuing to make those lower lows and higher lows to continue this trend further towards the downside. And I think in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people that are trading FX or even stocks are looking at this chart and are looking at the same thing. And it's just to no surprise that we got rejected on our first level of supply that we came up against. Right now, looking more towards the downside, towards that demand, and seeing if we get some more movements, more slippage on this market tie for the other currencies to accumulate and continue towards the upside. AUD included in that. But if I just flick across to gold spot, and we have a look and see where we're headed with gold, we're really in the same position as we were last week when we looked at gold, and we've had a couple of tries at this Fibonacci level. If I just take out that there, if it wants to, hold on, there we go. So I drew this level in last week, so our swing low, swing high, and then back to the pullback to get our trend-based fib extension levels, and we're sitting around that 1980 level there at that number one fib extension. So for gold, it really needs to break above close so we can get further confirmation of moves to the upside. But this This thing, Ty, if anything needs a pullback, it is gold, brother. Like, look at this run. It has been absolutely monumentous. It's been a mammoth run to the upside over the last couple of weeks. And this thing needs to cool off. And we've been seeing, all of our indicators, Steamroller, RSI, CCI, tell us that this thing needs a bit of a cool off. And I think we'll get it, honestly. I think we'll get it over the next week or so. There's a lot of rumors on the grapevine that a lot of these stock markets are going to take a plummet over the next couple of weeks, and I think gold might have its pullback before heading more towards the upside before we see more FOMOing as of yet. I think, Ty.
Wise words, my friend. All right, let's have a quick look at silver and then we can wrap it up.
Silver in the same sort of position, but it's a little bit more volatile in the case of because of the market cap, I guess, and a little bit more high percentage swings, if you could call it that. And it's looking very, very reminiscent to ETH and XRP and even BTC, where we did have that sharp, harsh move towards the downside, towards a relevant level of demand. And this is exactly the same scenario we've seen in silver over the last little bit. We've definitely tried to retest that 27 fib extension, and we have really traded underneath that for the last day or so, even more towards Friday till now. And even over the weekend, we closed underneath. So it's in the same sort of boat as gold, I think. I don't think silver is going to be immune towards this pullback, more towards this demand level and these fib levels that I have drawn in and haven't moved since the 23rd of July, and been playing out very, very nicely. So we could see more moves to that 0 and 23, where we see silver at $22.76. So that's what I'm looking for right now for the DXY gold and silver. Obviously, not financial advice. Anything you see in here is education only. We are not financial advisors, and you should be looking to speak to one to see if you should trade. And the whole spiel. I should write it down. I really should.
Someone else.
Talk to somebody else. Talk to a registered financial advisor before you delve in any of these markets, in case you lose money.
And that's us. We'll end it on that note. Congratulations, Art, to you too, mate. If you watched if you watched this far, for being last month's best non-admin contributor, mate. The indicator pack's coming your way, and for everybody who's interested in knowing a little bit more about Steamroll and everything else that we've got coming out in the next little bit, we will have an announcement for everyone on Thursday about that. So until we see you on Thursday night, again, fellow Victorians, thinking of you guys. Much love to the Victorian community, doing it quite hard at the moment. So if you have anything you need to say or want to get off your chest, as always, Ads and I's DMs are always open. That's why we're very lucky that we can do what we do when it comes to trading, and the barrier to entry is minimal, because when we struggle like this is how we make more money and potentially feed families and all that good stuff. So don't take trading for granted.
Absolutely. Wise words. We'll see you all on Thursday night. Thank you for joining us.
See you later, guys. Bye.